Ugh, why did that happen? Either way, we're still doing D23 stuff. Let's see if we can get through without any hiccups. I might have to figure out what all of that was because that was kind of annoying. Damn, son, I don't know what happened there. That's kind of upsetting. We'll try to get through it, figure out what's going on. But D23, if everything's going well, please let me know. We're back on track. Things are semi smooth, semi operational, operating at a percentage, I guess. I don't know. That kind of sucked. Threw me off the game a little bit. Let's get back into it and see if we can get on track. That was something just happened. Crazy. Let's talk about it a little bit more. D23. See, there's just so much to talk about. It just couldn't handle what was going on. And I get that, but damn, does that suck? Damn, whatever. So, Avengers Campus stuff, that was kind of exciting, I guess, if you're interested in that. And then I was going to say, kind of before we crashed out there, like the CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek or something, he was kind of booed off stage at like the Legends ceremony. And I'm like, that is accurate. You know, he's been through the ringer a lot recently, so I guess it would make sense that stuff with him would kind of be thrown to the side at the moment. I don't know. Interesting stuff. Kind of an interesting thing going on there. But they had a lot of like big announcements they had to drop, and the thing is too, like a lot of the stuff they showed, and this is just it's for pretty much every category of like the big like news pieces that they've shown. It's a lot of stuff we already knew the information for, so there wasn't this like, oh man, we have to break new information and show you new stuff. It was things that we were already aware of. And that kind of, I think, set the expectation in certain ways for people to be like, oh, yeah, well, this isn't worth it then. There's that expectation for people who are like, we have to reveal everything new, the entire slate for things coming up. But this show was kind of just like, actually, what if we just told you some information about stuff we've already announced and we don't actually have to try too hard? That's what the show was. And I guess when you're Disney, you're the biggest conglomerate in the world. You don't have to try so hard anyways. So that is far from a problem for you, but okay, something to do. We have a few topics to talk about. We're going to do all of it. Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, everything that was big. We're going to talk about it because it's the year of the Disney year life, everything. Disney forever, content forever. That is how this works. That is how we are going into this society and this system. Hold on to your butts, folks. We're going to dive deeper into the world of Disney with stuff that is literally sequels, reboots, or live action remakes. That is the Disney motto going forward. My goodness, is it tiresome, isn't it? It is tiresome. It just feels like we're going in circles, aren't we? But we'll get into it. So the first thing here, Hocus Pocus 2-is. Another Hocus Pocus thing. That's fun, right? People like Hocus Pocus. I have no personal connection to that brand or that identity or anything, so I don't really care about Hocus Pocus. But I guess that is exciting to people. Hocus Pocus is kind of fun. I don't know. It could be, but a sequel to that, cool. That's a thing people like. Hannah Waddingham's in it, and she looks great, so that's something exciting. I like Hannah Waddingham. And if it's sounding okay, please put like a thumbs up or just let me know that everything's going well on like the video side of things. For what's on my end, everything looks to be going smooth. That was an annoying moment that happened, but just please let me know how things are going. Because Hocus Pocus, it was probably some Hocus Pocus magic that screwed up the monitor there for a bit and just cut us out. That was crazy. Hocus Pocus. Do I need to say anything? I don't have anything to say on it. I just had to bring it up because it was like one of the first things they revealed. And then Jamie Lee Curtis came out in a Doom buggy to talk Haunted Mansion. Yay, another ride reboot movie. Cool. And I'd be like, this is kind of fun, like a Haunted Mansion movie. That's cool. We already did one back in like the 2000s, I think. And it was it was okay. I don't think it was fun. I don't think anybody remembers it. It was Eddie Murphy that did it, so I guess they could do something fun with that concept today. I don't know if it's going to be worth it. It's that thing. It's like, we don't need to see it. And that's the thing. It's kind of an original concept, but it's also a reboot, so Nothing about it screams fascinating. These first few Disney things are not for me in the slightest. I'll say that right now. That Hocus Pocus 2, the next one, Disenchanted. I don't care about that property. I know people in my personal life who praise the Enchanted property. It's like one of the best things Disney made. It was aimed to be like Disney is self-aware. And look, you can't make a princess today in New York City. They did, though. It was like a movie they did, so they did it. And it was Amy Adams, kind of like in that spot before she became who she is today in terms of the cultural relevance. And it's fine. Sequel now, 14 years later, I think. Is it 14? It's a long time later. We're getting the sequel. Guess what? All's not well that ends well, because she has some problems brewing up. And they got like a teenage daughter who's clearly like, oh, mom's so princessy and I'm different socially in terms of the world. And it's like that's kind of fun. It is kind of fascinating they got all of the original cast back for this. But it's also the audience who's going to see it will watch it, but then who really cares, I don't think like the younger demographic, because look, I was a young man when this I was probably a child when this came out. I can barely remember, but that's the generation that's going to watch it. Generation younger than me, they don't care. They don't know who Patrick Dempsey is. They don't care. Well, they kind of do. He was just that guy on that show they watched for a bit, but nobody cares about this. Good for James Marsden, though, always getting work doing the bare minimum. He's just effortless in everything, and somehow he gives a great performance in everything. That is impressive. But now we're going to get into some of the stuff that I am utterly fascinated by in terms of the Disney Lollapalooza fun. First off, we knew that the live action remake of The Jungle Book, not The Jungle Book, Jungle Book is getting a sequel too, isn't it? Of The Lion King, I meant to say. Of The Lion King, that would be getting a sequel, prequel, because why not, right? A $1 billion movie like The Lion King deserves a sequel. So, legendary director Barry Jenkins, who made Moonlight, which was a great film that won awards, he got sucked into the Disney boat of just like, hey, you want to make the second Lion King movie? Why would you want to do that, I ask? And he's like, I guess so. Are you going to let me do like another Beale Street film after this? Or like, no, probably not. You'll be the Lion King guy. So this new one, we have a title for it. It's the worst title in film history. I will stand by that forever. It is called Mufasa the Lion King. That's a great title. Like, it's like Maverick the Top Gun. Stupid title. This is the origin story of Mufasa. How he starts as like a rough guy on the streets to being the leader of the pride. It's the Godfather 2 of the Lion King films. And that's a sentence I never thought I would say in my life, because it's being narrated by Rafiki Timon and Pumbaa to like a young member of like Simba's pride. Like, this is how your grandfather got here. That is so stupid. And I think it's such a lame idea for a movie. And it speaks upon something that is happening with all these things. It's like, they're no longer making original properties or original projects. They are just weaponizing nostalgia, so you have the same feelings watching these that you did when you were younger. I recently did a back-to-back watching of Pinocchio because I am a miserable old fart who hates his life. And watching the rebooted Pinocchio, it really made me hate everything about society. I think if we keep making films like this, and this is how they come out and this is how they look, we are doomed as a culture to repeat ourselves in the worst ways possible, and entertainment is going to become a cursed blade that destroys itself, the snake that eats its own tail, and eventually we'll be left with nothing more than Stranger Things parodying Stranger Things and another Marvel movie that I don't want to see. That is worrisome. That is Mufasa the Lion King. Not the most controversial one they put on their list, but the one that I find the least interesting by far. And then we have this little gem of a film that's stirring up some controversy in all of the wrong places, because Halle Bailey, I guess is how you would say her name, has been cast as Ariel in the live-action reboot of The Little Mermaid. Okay, let's get into this. I have no problems with a reboot of The Little Mermaid. Halle Bailey is a fine actor. I think she can pull it off immensely. She's got a beautiful voice and is capable of great wonders on screen. We saw about a 90-second teaser trailer for this thing, and it might be the ugliest thing I've ever seen. That's an overstatement. I've seen Pinocchio, and that was a dumpster fire. How do you take this scene from The Little Mermaid called Part of Your World, which, again, I'm not the expert on Little Mermaid. I know people in my life who love that, defend it to the day they die. It's not my thing. Never will be, never was, probably not going to be for a long time. It looked beautiful visually. It's got beautiful colors. It's a very compelling narrative. Everything about it is just spectacle and spectacular. And that scene where she's singing Part of Your World, right? And it's like, look at this woman descend from like the caverns of the sea with all these beautiful colors, these blues and purples all around her, this aurora of style. And when we see the live action reboot of that, it's just this girl in a gray area on a rock. And it just she looks like Ariel. She looks the part of Ariel. She is literally the right tone for all the other colors. Everything about her looks like Ariel. But she's just in gray nothingness, and I know there's criticisms like, it doesn't look like she's underwater. She's a real human, so she can't be underwater. Mermaids aren't real, except when we find out they are, and I'll be biting my hat at that one. So yeah, it's not going to look like she's underwater. But they could have tried a little harder to make it look like there was water there, and not just the volume technology. And given Pinocchio, given The Lion King, those two things I didn't like, I am dreading the way we're going to be seeing Ursula and Sebastian and Flounder. I think they're going to be ugly, and I don't like that, because it was so weird to me, like, the way, when they choose to do realism to cartoonishness, because The Lion King was all like, this is a real lion. It's not going to show you any emotion. It's going to look like a stiff, stupid lion. But Pinocchio was like, what if the fish had eyelashes and was horny? And you're like, what? Where's the line? Where's the line? You can make the cartoon fish in Pinocchio look like the fish, but we have to make a big sea monster monstro instead of like a cartoon looking whale thing? Like, why was the fish cartoony in Pinocchio, but the fox guy, Honest John, wasn't cartoony? That is the question. And the real question when it comes to The Little Mermaid is, how's Flounder going to look? Like a fish? Is he just going to look like a fish? Is he going to have an expressive face? Is Sebastian just going to be a creepy little crab? Better not be. Either way, I'm fine with this film existing. I don't really care about this property either way. It looks gross. And by gross, I mean just gray and nothing. It's just empty, disgusting nothingness. Like, can you at least put some color in there? It's under the water. It doesn't have to look like it's literally dark depths of nothingness. But that's your Little Mermaid talk, everybody. Kind of lame. Kind of lame. And this is the thing, too. I have no problem with any studio just taking a property and dragging it to the ground. Every property deserves to be rebooted. Every property deserves to have their chance to tell a new story. The problem with Disney doing these live-action reboots of them is they are telling the same story in worse ways. And again, I don't want to harp on Pinocchio for too long, but Pinocchio had this thing happen where it was just like, what if we made a Chris Pine joke because, you know, he's Hollywood now, and it's like we have to make jokes like, your name's Chad Oakley. No, that's dumb. Bruce Greenwood? Nah. Chris Pine? Yeah. You know, funny jokes. It's like, who is that for, aside from the guy that wrote it? I don't know. It was so bizarre to me, and I don't think it was that entertaining. So we'll stop talking about Pinocchio. Let's talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians, baby. Because Disney owns this too. I guess this is the one that the author's like, trust me, guys, we're getting it right this time. Everybody can be happy with it. We're going to do it right. No one's going to be mad at us. Please don't get mad at me for anything. I mean, it was fun. It was just a kid talking. The kid from that movie. What's the movie? The Adam Project. Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, that kid's going to be Percy Jackson. Whatever. I don't know. Like, again, I know a lot of people in my life who are fans of Percy Jackson. I couldn't really find it appealing. It's that, like, there's this whole generation, my generation, that when I was like, no, I'm going to watch like Ninja Turtles and like all this other crap that's behind me, there's a generation that's like Harry Potter, Doctor Who, freaking Percy Jackson, just like those weird things. It's like gods and wizards. And I'm like, I want pizza eating turtles in a sewer, and that's where I stayed for the rest of my life. So Percy Jackson, again, not something I very much enjoyed. But if you're going to reboot it, that's fine. I don't care. Do it. But here's one I do like, and I'm glad they're rebooting or doing again, because what an insane thing to do. Again, I have to ask the question, who is this for? Is it for Tim Allen? Are we doing the Santa Claus again because we owe Tim Allen money or we owe him a franchise? Like, what a weird concept to do for him. I don't personally get it, but whatever. We're doing it. And it looks like the Santa Claus. So here's a Christmas show to watch. David Krumholtz is back doing a Santa Claus thing. Okay. Tim Allen is remember when he was like one of those guys that everybody had to watch, kind of like, I'm trying to think of like somebody in his like category where you're like, he was the guy. I guess Travolta in a sense. There's that Wild Hogs Renaissance where all those guys were like popular for a hot minute and then nobody talks about any of them anymore. And it's fascinating. I guess Macy has his own thing going on with like Shameless, but Tim Allen, man, nobody cares. But I like it. Like, there was a funny joke in the trailer with Peyton Manning where he's like, ho ho Omaha. And I'm like, that is actually a joke. That is a good joke with two guys who would write that. Tim Allen would be like, I think that's funny. Peyton Manning would be like, I would say that because I'm weird. I do roast battles for some reason. A weird topic, but that's kind of fun. Now, the last two things I have under like the Disney branch of things are kind of original things that they've talked about. They showed off stills of Michelle Yeoh for American Born Chinese, which of course is based on the award-winning comic book, and that's going to be a fun one to see. Can't wait to see how that's going to look. And we also got, I love this so much. This is a studio almost 100 years old, because next year it will be Disney 100. So they'll probably do big specials for that and everything. A studio that is 100 years old. This is the only original idea that the Disney Animation Studio has come up with. It's awesome. When you wish upon a star, but what if that star had its own story to tell? So they're making this original movie called Wish. It's going to star Ariana DeBose, who won the Academy Award for West Side Story this year. She will be voicing this princess who wishes upon a star, but we learn about the star's origin. I love that so much because it's dumb. Like, who thinks that's something anybody wants? Who said, I want to know the crazy son of a gun who just said, when you wish upon a star, but what is the star wishing upon? What if the star in that sentence was a person with feelings? That's awesome. That's awesome. That is just the coolest thing in the world. Like, what a creative idea that somebody came up with that's going to change the world. It's going to change the game. It's one of those ideas that it's going to just remind you that no matter how hard you try, and I'm saying this to myself and every listener out there who has their original story just waiting to go, no matter how hard you try, this is the shit that gets made from Disney. So don't try to sell your original thing to Disney. They're going to say the star has a story. And it's not even like a clever thing. Like DreamWorks could do The Boy on the Moon. That is at least a thing. Like, he's there. We see him. The star and when you, like, Disney characters wish on a star. What if that star was everything? Like, who gives a flying hoot about that star? I love it, though, because it just reminds me this is a studio that is 100 years old, and they have not had an original idea. When was the last one? Because half of their original films are based on fairy tales and fables. So I guess you could say, I don't know, when they bought Marvel was the last time they had an original idea. I love it. And kind of sticking to animation, we did have a couple of things from Pixar to talk about. They talked a little bit more about Elemental, which okay, it's kind of Inside Out with elements, I guess. There's this girl who's like fiery and she's made of fire, and she meets this dude who's a wave because he just goes with the flow, man. And it's kind of cute. Like, that is fun. I hope it's a romance story. That I didn't really see any of them talking about it a bit. It is in the thumbnail because I thought they looked cool. So that's something. That's kind of fun. But we also, speaking of Inside Out, Inside Out 2. What if Riley was older and now she had different feelings? But I ask you this. We saw Riley's mommy and daddy also have the same feelings as her. Why didn't they have new feelings when they grew up is what I'm asking you. Do you only get new feelings when you're a teenager and then when you get to be an adult, it just reverts back to your standard thing? Are they going to explain this in the movie? Who cares? Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader aren't coming back. They are doing better things of probably better studios that are giving them better paychecks. Oh, that's fun. Inside Out 2, everybody. We're here for it. We love it. We breathe it. We live it. We sleep it. We want it. We want it, babes. We want it. Let's get it. Let's get it on. Let's get that fun stuff going. Yeah. They're doing an original, like this is at least an idea, an original TV show, like their first actual like streaming service TV show. It's not like based on something else like Cars on the Road or Monsters at Work. It's called Win or Lose. It has Will Forte as like the coach of this children's soccer team, I believe it was. A major event happens, and then each episode we see the perspective of a different person on the team and what they did with the events. And that is a fun idea for a children's show. It's a creative idea. It gives you as a writer the chance to do a lot of fun stuff, and that's kind of cool. Probably my favorite thing they announced from Pixar. Like, that's kind of a cool concept and something they could do on screen and on film, but doing it here works, I think, a little better. That's kind of cool. I do dig that. I do think that's kind of exciting. And then they had a new original movie they announced called Elio. And again, you have to be like, why are you giving it the names of these people that are connected to Call Me By Your Name? Luca, that is the director of Call Me By Your Name. Elio is the character in Call Me By Your Name. Alien movie. Yeah, finally. It feels weird that they never really tapped into the alien demographic over there at Pixar, hey? I guess WALL-E was kind of, but they did Monsters, and I guess that's close enough. But a kid gets abducted by aliens. He becomes an ambassador for Earth. It sounds awesome, and it sounds exactly like something I'd want to see if I was 11 years old, like the kid in this movie is going to be. It's cool. It's just cool. That's something I like to see. You know, just a fun kid going into space of aliens. Like, that is a premise that is timeless, tale as old as time, works in any format you want to play with it. Very cool, very fun. I love it. Give me more alien stuff. Like, between this and Strange World at Disney, I feel like we're headed to this new era, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, where the classic ideas of genre film are kind of coming back. And I really like that. And I'm not even talking about, like, Back to the Future, because Zemeckis did, Pinocchio. I mean, your classic Twilight Zone serials from the 50s and 40s, your Boris Karloff stuff. But we'll get to that in a minute, because before we do, the big stuff I want to talk about, and you guys are all here to see, we have to talk about the Star Wars stuff. And I am a Star Wars fan. I'm kind of just waiting for that next phase to hit, because we're kind of treading ground on Star Wars a little bit. We got more information on Andor. It looks great. Andor is the coolest thing they're probably going to do with Star Wars for a while, because it's kind of the only original thing where it's like, it's not a sequel to Rebels. It's not like a sequel to the Clone Wars or anything. Straight up, I mean, I guess it is a prequel to Rogue One, but they're trying to do something new, which I appreciate. 3-episode premiere on the 21st. I don't know if I'm going to do reviews for it. We'll probably do a big episode like this talking about it. Very fascinated by this property. Diego Luna is just like a cool guy. I think this is going to be really fun. Andor looks cool. The Bad Batch Season 2 will be returning in January, which is perfect, because then February, Mandalorian, baby. Mandalorian Season 3. The trailer that they showed, they finally released to the public. I believe this is the exact trailer that they showed a while back at like a Star Wars celebration to the audiences there. It kind of leaked online. Then we saw it here, and you're like, damn, son. It's amazing. Mandalorian's cool, isn't it? Like, that is such a simplistic property that has found its footing, found its audience, and made itself something special. I'm genuinely impressed with it. I like that concept. I think they are doing some really cool stuff over there. Very fun. Very fun. And then we have the announcement of Tales of the Jedi, which we kind of already knew about. They showed off some footage. It's like these 6 mini episodes all dedicated to different characters in like the Clone Wars era, a little bit before that, actually, I should say. Yaddle, girly Yoda, maybe. Maybe we see Yaddle get Praegers and she has little Grogu. That is something we should really explain, isn't it? And then Liam Neeson's son will be playing a young Qui-Gon Jinn as we see the origin of Dooku going psycho, and that's kind of fun. And then there's an Ahsoka one. There has to be. Filoni will write Ahsoka forever. There was, I don't want to talk about it because it wasn't really like revealed at the convention. There was kind of the leak of the actor who will be playing Ezra Bridger. And it's like, hey, that's not Mina Massoud. That's a new guy who looks the part just as well. So cool. They didn't show anything for Ahsoka to the public. If they showed stuff there, it was at the show. They showed footage of Skeleton Crew as well, which is the Jude Law one. And I wasn't aware they were that close to like production on it. I thought they were still like in pre-production, but it looks like they're in full-on production. Like Jude Law's on set doing stuff, so that's kind of impressive. I guess he's kind of a Disney guy now, isn't he? He did Captain Marvel, and now he's like, I'll do a Star Wars. That's a fun thing. You have to imagine they're going to get him to do like another thing like that. I wonder what it's going to be. That's going to be fun. But that's not it for Lucasfilm because they actually have a couple other big properties that they can talk about. It's kind of fun, isn't it? They do more than just Star Wars. They also do Willow, which is a thing that I have vague recollection of. I don't know if I've ever seen all of Willow. If I haven't, that's okay, because it's probably just another fantasy thing to get swept up in. The thing is, we saw a trailer for the new show that's coming out in November, and it actually looks good. That surprised me, I think, more than anything. I'm like, wow, this actually, cool production design. It feels like the volume technology being used right, like The Mandalorian, which I kind of think is interesting. Young actors who are definitely capable of doing something creative, different characterizations. It does have the thing of like, we have to get Warwick back to do the story. It's like all about him. You could have just told a story in this world, but it's good to see him doing stuff and having fun. I guess this is kind of his thing. So if he wants to come back and do it, yeah, that's cool. Fantasy. A lot of good fantasy out right now. This might be another one to add to the pantheon of just things that are returning. I guess between this and Percy Jackson, it is kind of going to be like the summer of fantasy. And I say summer in terms of like, this is the season of fantasy shows coming out that are going to make people happy. But Percy Jackson's a lot to like next year in the summer. So just endless fantasy shows that are not stopping to counteract with the sci-fi shows that are not stopping. Endless content forever, I do say. That's not all, folks, because how is this possible that Harrison Ford looked happy for once? That amazed me. There is the really cool photo where him and Ke Ho Kwan reunite after like 38 years apart. Indy and Short Round show up, but Harrison Ford took to the stage to talk about Indiana Jones 5. They did not actually reveal the official title. He's like, guys, this is it. This is the last time I'm doing this. I'm not breaking any more bones for you sons of bees. I'm done after this one, so please enjoy it and like it. Sounds like he had fun. They did show some footage that we didn't get to see in the public, but I bet you it's good. I bet you it's good. And the fact that Harrison was emotional and he was like, wow, this is awesome. Look at me. I'm 80 years old and you people still worship me. That's got to be a nice feeling. I'm happy for him. Harrison's one of those interesting guys in Hollywood where it's like, you don't feel like a Hollywood star. You just feel like somebody's angry dad who just happens to be what the people want to see. But I guess that makes him special. And I don't understand why it's just Indy that's his favorite thing in the world. Like, why? I mean, I guess because, Han Solo's like, I'm looking at a stupid rug all the time that's screaming at me. And all of these characters with their stupid lasers that don't shoot anything. I get to look like a cool guy in the jungle, which is probably exactly what his generation wants, that kind of like serialized adventurer story. And he kind of brought that into the modern era and made it kind of something special. So put it in the ground with him, I guess. Probably won't, though. If this does well, which I have to imagine it would, because there has never really been a Indiana Jones film that was bad. Well, there is ones that have been bad, but that didn't bomb. Like, none of them have bombed. I have to imagine. We'll be spinning off. Ke Ho Kwan is back in the public consciousness. Short Round spinoff. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is playing somebody connected to Jones, so you have to imagine that at the end of this one, it's going to be like, hey, Fleabag, do you want to be Indiana Jones now? And she'd be like, looking directly into camera like, yeah, please. Fleabag, but Indiana Jones would be awesome. Just the concept of Fleabag, but it's in Indiana Jones world. That's all I want. That'd be awesome. Just awesome. Good for Harrison Ford. You're still relevant now, dude. Like, you have had a storied career that is spanning like decades upon decades, and somehow it's still working. And you're still working. So congrats on doing that, the bare minimum, but you're doing it. I respect him too much to criticize him. He's a fine actor, not a genius actor, but he'll probably, this is like the last thing he'll probably do. So that's cool. That's a thing. That's a thing. And speaking of Ke-Huy Quan, I bring him up because he was at D23. We saw him there. He jokes like, this isn't the Indiana Jones panel. Because now we're getting into the bread and butter that brings everybody to this fine establishment today. We're talking the Marvel Studios stuff at D23. Ke-Huy Quan, like I said, joked he wasn't at Indiana Jones because he's going to be in Loki Season 2 as a TVA agent. Ke-Huy Quan does one movie that changes the game forever, everything, everywhere, all at once, makes him a star again, and then you see all of those people because Stephanie and Michelle are going to be an American-born Chinese, and now he's going to Loki. It feels like we're picking up all of those people and bringing them over here. You have to imagine the Daniels have taken meetings with Disney to maybe direct a really cool movie. But that's cool. So that's kind of like all we got for Loki was like he's showing up. Everyone else you like is showing up again. It's Loki again. It ties into that again. I guess there was a lot of stuff we saw for like Jonathan Majors as Kang in that show. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And with that, there was the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania stuff, which they said this ties directly into the Kang Dynasty, which makes me go, oh, okay, so it's not really a sequel to Ant-Man. It's just your setup movie, isn't it? Okay, you really... I don't know why they some of the choices they made for the Ant-Man and the Wasp franchise. It's interesting, but I guess because who cares otherwise? If you just connect it to the big one, you'll get more people to see it. Because these are like the lowest grossing trilogy so far, probably. That's kind of fun. Is it? I don't think so. There's stuff like they've talked about that I'm excited for, and there's stuff where I'm like, okay. Like Matt Shankman doing the Fantastic Four. I'm still like, oh, is that the choice we're going with? Like, again, I don't think what made WandaVision work was his style. I think it was all the other things around it, but he knows how to work in the studio system with this team, so I guess that is all you can really ask for in a guy like this, that he is committed and willing to do this, so that's cool. No Fantastic Four casting, which the internet was like, that is like a guaranteed thing we're getting. I was fooled like everybody else. I thought we'd see Krasinski come on stage and be like, I'm directing, here's Penn Badgley, that guy from You, show up and be like, I'm Reed, the old Reed's directing me, here's Jodie Comer, she's gonna be Sue, and then one of those other kids is the Thing, and maybe Seth Rogen shows up, but I guess Seth Rogen was off promoting The Fabelmans somewhere because The Fabelmans also screened at TIFF, because TIFF was this weekend too. D23 was like, everyone shut up, we'll have to hold the news for a bit, but TIFF was like, what if you want to see a good movie? And they're like, The Fabelmans. And you're like, oh shit, The Fabelmans is good? People are loving it? Awesome. Oh shit, they showed My Policeman and Harry Styles can't act? Cool. I love a good Hollywood humble story where Harry Styles is like, I'll conquer this bridge. And then it collapses on him. That's kind of fun. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. No Krasinski. Nobody there. There was the leak photos that came out like a couple days, well, a couple hours, I should say, like before the actual event, where it's like, guys, it's Henry Cavill as Doom. I would hate that more than anything because he is just too stoic for Doom. There's no like anger behind that face. He is just too perfectly pretty. Doom needs to feel like a guy who could go on Reddit, and I think Henry Cavill is just too pretty for Reddit. That makes sense. Anthony Ramos, who is the star of In the Heights, and I guess the new Transformers, if that ever comes out, he's going to be the Hood in Ironheart. Magic versus technology, a really fun balance between the two worlds. And yeah, okay, I'll support that. He's a great actor. He's kind of cool. Put him in there. I think he's fun. We also got a lot of talk from Don Cheadle. He's like, actually, I'm in Secret Invasion for anybody interested in knowing where I've been for a while. And don't forget that Armor Wars is still coming out after Secret Invasion. Okay, man, cool. Because we actually got a Secret Invasion trailer. I guess that's going to be coming out early 2023. Ooh, man, it looks good. It is so refreshing to see like a Marvel trailer for like a TV show that isn't trying to make jokes. And I'm not even like criticizing She-Hulk or Miss Marvel or Moon Knight even for doing the things they did. But it's just like, this is a serious political thriller. Things are intense and gripping. Let's make it look like it. And they did. Secret Invasion looks like an intense political thriller. It's actually got me intrigued for the show. And I wasn't at all to begin with. But just like, oh shit, rogue Skrulls potentially taking over the world and we have to get Fury back on Earth to deal with it. And all these other characters who could be popping up from different franchises who could potentially be Skrulls. Oh, give me it, give me it, give me it. They gotta do one big one that's a Skrull. Far From Home showed it with Nick Fury and Maria Hill were Talos and his wife in disguise. They have to do one big character as a Skrull. Rhodey is the only confirmed like legacy character in this so far. I think it could be a red herring that he's the Skrull and he's actually not. I don't know, but maybe like Justin Hammer, if he returns, that would be a good one to see show up in there. Maybe the Fury we're seeing is a Skrull and it's going to be like a double cross, like a crisscross thing where the actual Nick Fury is still in space when he comes down. We're not actually following that Nick Fury. That Nick Fury was a Skrull the whole time. That'd be kind of cool. Yon-Rogg returns. Jude Law makes his triumphant return, and he's a Skrull. Somebody's got to be a Skrull. Some big dude's got to be a Skrull, or else what are we doing? Amelia Clark is in this show as well, playing character unknown at this point. And I think she has 2 different looks thus far, so that's kind of exciting. I don't want her just to be like a random rogue Skrull person. I hope she's like a bigger role somewhere, but it's kind of exciting. I'm genuinely excited for Secret Invasion. I had no hope for this show because I'm like, I don't care. Like, that is a storyline that took years to get out, and it was kind of boring when it happened. I'll be honest. Secret Invasion, not my thing. I did not like the Skrull story, but this looks like it's an idea being presented. And it will lead directly into Armor Wars, which I have to imagine will be Don Cheadle's last one, right? Like, he might appear in Ironheart, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be in Ironheart, so I don't know. Just stuff happening, I guess. Just creative endeavors going in directions. That's all we can ask for. Oh, man, oh, man. But there was a couple, like, 3 big things, I guess, that I know everyone's like, you have to talk about those. So we'll get into it. Where should we start? Let's start with, I'm just going to, like, slowly reach off screen here, just like, I was going to like whip something out really quick if you want to see it. I'm going to just going to whip out my man thing. Yeah? You guys want to see my giant-sized man thing? Here it is. Oh, I'll be making man thing jokes for probably the rest of the month. I have a million man thing jokes to go with, and yeah, everybody wants to see a man thing until you actually see its size, you know? When you see the size of this man thing, you're like, well, that's not too impressive. Again, this is my giant-sized man thing, but somebody might have a bigger man thing than me. I'll be making man thing jokes forever. I love that character for that reason alone. So we'll start with this. There have been rumors and reports since the day started, like a year ago, that come this Halloween season, there would be a Disney special from Marvel Studios all about the Werewolf by Night. And I'm like, would they do it? Would they actually do it? I would love it if they did it because, A, Werewolf by Night, that is a cool idea. A werewolf in the Marvel Universe, please and thank you. That leads into Dracula and the zombie and the Frankenstein and all those other cool characters that are awesome. And I have old action figures of all of those characters. They're awesome. I want that. And then you're like, okay. And then Michael Giacchino is going to direct it. You're like, oh, the guy who does all the composing for you is going to direct? Okay. I'd like to see what he does. And then I'm like, oh, what if the girl from the Nevers was Elsa Bloodstone? And I'm like, hold up a second. We're doing a Michael Giacchino directed Werewolf by Night property for Halloween, and Elsa Bloodstone's going to be in it, and it's going to be that talented girl from the Nevers? Okay. And they're like, what if we whipped out our man thing? And I'm like, hey, hold on. Look, you can whip out all the Man Things you want, but for a Halloween special, you're going to do Man Thing? And then we're going to do it like a black and white 50s and 30s horror film of Boris Karloff with like the zoom in on the face and the freezes, and there's going to be like actual like, cigarette burns on like the lens and the frame. You're like, whoa. And it's black and white. Like, hold up for a second, Disney. Are you telling me you're doing something creative with actually compelling characters? Yeah, it sounds like it. So we got a trailer for Werewolf by Night, the man from Mozart and the Jungle. That's where I know him from. Gail Burrow. I can't remember his name. He's the really sexy guy from Mozart and the Jungle. He's going to be Jack Russell. And we have a trailer that is just a bunch of monster hunters in like a weird labyrinth-looking maze. And we see that Ulysses Bloodstone is dying. And to honor him, they're going to go on like a monster hunt. And I think what's going to happen is at first you're like, they're hunting the werewolf. But what actually they're hunting is the Man Thing. And you're like, dude, that looks so good. That looks so good. Like, I love it so much. Just the setup of like, it's just a vintage retro horror flick, B-list schlucky bullshit. And it looks awesome. I know I don't talk about it enough. I should say this. I don't talk about it enough, but my side of the Marvel universe is kind of like the street level and then the weird, creepy swamp guy. I might be the biggest Man Thing fan you are going to see this side of the Serengeti. I don't know why I said Serengeti. I should have said Everglades. That would have made more sense. This side of the Everglades. But I love Man Thing. I have every Man Thing action figure except for one, which is like the old kind of retro Toy Biz one they did for like the dark side line. And I've read every Man Thing comic book. This character is awesome. I love the Man Thing. Give me more Man Thing. Man Thing in a black and white horror film with Elsa Bloodstone, another favorite character of mine. Just a badass monster hunter lady. And we're going to have Jack Russell show up for a minute. And he's like, you're doing this in less than a month. It's coming out. And I'm just more amped for this than I think anything else they've ever announced in the history of Marvel. Because I'm like, this is such an idea. This is like your WandaVision and She-Hulk level of like a concept being executed in this frame that it should be executed in. That is really cool. So Werewolf by Night, I hope this leads to more specials. Wouldn't it be so cool if next year they did Tomb of Dracula to coincide with the Blade film? Oh, that would be so cool. Just like those, like that 70s era of Marvel horror was so impressive because it's like, we can finally do scary shit again. Pump it out. Pump up the Dracula story. Stanley says Dracula. Get Dracula out. Get a Frankenstein out there. Get your Frankenstein. Get your werewolf. Come on, get everything out and pump it out. And there's a nicheness for it, and people like it. And then we have witches and monster hunters and weird creepy men thing that can show up and do weird stuff. And I'm like, that's just the dream, baby. Just the weird horror of the 70s coming to the modern era in a Boris Karloff mummy-looking thing. You found my niche, and you did it perfectly. So Marvel Studios, I applaud you for surprising me. You genuinely did with that little, you dirty devil. I was half expecting it to be bullshit, where I'm like, oh, come on, this is just too good to be true, right? They can't actually have Werewolf by Night, Elsa Bloodstone, and Man Thing in one out, maybe even like a 40-minute special. But we're doing it. We are officially doing it, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be cool. So there you go. Werewolf by Night, it's going to change the game for a lot of us cool dudes. That's exciting. Can't wait to see what that's going to be. Less than a month. That means they can whip these out all the time. We're going to get specials every holiday season. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming out supposedly this year. Holiday specials till the end of time, please. Do them. Like, what other one? Like, we could do so much fun stuff. Like, oh, Howard the Duck specials, man. Could you imagine? Oh, please. Please. That's not all. We have more Marvel news. That's not as exciting as that. You're not going to hear me losing my mind with these other ones. Captain America, New World Order. That's right, folks. Guess what? We have announcement of people returning. No surprise. Sam Wilson is back. Isaiah Bradley is back. That one I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he should be back, shouldn't he? It's a good idea. And then we have Joaquin Torres is back. He's going to be Falcon. Good for Danny Ramirez because he is coming off the heights of Top Gun Maverick, where he's probably going to be known by a lot more people than you could have imagined. So good for him. And that's going to be cool. He's actually going to be Falcon, apparently. They also announced that an Israeli actress will be playing Sabra, the first Israeli superhero and a mutant in the Marvel Universe. That's fun. That's exciting. I want to see what that's going to be. But I think what surprised me the most, because I'm like, why would you do it here? Tim Blake Nelson, a guy who has been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe since 2009, will be returning for the first time since 2009 as the leader, the Hulk villain with the big green head. The leader will be the villain of Captain America New World Order. You have to imagine it's going to be some weird secret society stuff, like maybe a secret empire, maybe a serpent society. This guy is going to use some secret thing to take over the world because it's a new world order. And I'm like, that is kind of fun. Kind of an interesting idea to go for. I'm like, are we really not doing anything with Hulk where we can't do that? I guess it's also like we have the rights back from Universal for some of them. We still can't do Hulk. But it's like, maybe the thing that's going to happen is we're going to do this. We'll do the World War Hulk thing. He'll come back, and then Leader and Abomination will actually fight Hulk, as opposed to being side characters in other heroes' journeys. I know, like, Sam Falcon, Captain America, does not have many of his own villains to play with, but truly, surely, wholeheartedly, it gotta be more than the Leader, right? Like, even, again, the Serpent Society, Cobra you could do Batroc come back because he fought Batroc, but I don't know, I just think it's weird. Whatever, though. Big green-headed boy, he's back. Julius Ono will be directing. This could be fun. Or it could fall flat and become nothing. Either way, what a time to be a Captain America fan, because, guess what? Controversy ahoy. Let's stop the controversy ship. Like the train noise that this controversy ship makes, because the Thunderbolts film just had its roster revealed. Now, I say roster in air quotes because I think this is part of the roster and one of the Thunderbolts team. So, let's run down this Thunderbolts team and then we'll talk about it a bit. You have Taskmaster, who will be returning from Black Widow. You have Yelena Belova, who will be returning from Black Widow and Hawkeye. Red Guardian, who will be returning from Black Widow. You have the U.S. Agent, who will be returning from Falcon and Winter Soldier. You have the Winter Soldier, who will be returning from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have Ghost, who will be returning from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And you have, what's her name, Contessa Allegra de Fontaine, Elaine Bennett from Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus from literally history incarnate. She'll be returning too. I love that she's on the poster like she's part of the team and like she's actually going to be on the field with them. I would love it if that was the case, but I feel like she's going to be like behind the scenes thunderbolting Raw, setting it up. So this team is fascinating to me solely because the choices are so similar. First off, there's no new characters in here. You guys can't see it, but off screen I have action figures of the original Thunderbolts team. Citizen V, Songbird, and Mach 5. And I've said this before, Kurt Busiek is a creator and a writer I admire and love. His original Thunderbolts book I think is really fun. I don't think this team invokes a lot of confidence from me. There's stuff about it I like. Like, I think all of these actors, one, they're sexy people. Two, they're talented. This is a stacked cast of sexy, talented people doing sexy, talented stuff. But it's kind of lame at the same time. And I've heard people like, oh, shut up about the cast. Shut up about, like, the roster. Like, Thunderbolts team, it's always switching all the time. That's true, but it's also like, this guy's on the team sometimes. Luke Cage is on the team sometimes. None of the original characters are on the team in this thing. You have 2 spies and 3 guys that use a shield sometimes. Like, why would you have 4 if you really count Bucky? Why would you have Taskmaster, U.S. Agent, and Red Guardian, all 3 of these guys throw a shield? Why would you put them on the same team? That is so boring. Ghost is the only kind of like original one, and I think that's kind of like a fun concept to have her come back. But the thing of this is like, it just reeks of just this, we need to be Suicide Squad special opsy, and I'm like, that is part of the book because every iteration is different. But I'm like, you could have maybe branched out a little bit. Maybe got less named actors to do stuff. I know people are like, what about Abomination? Yeah, what about him? Here's what I think, and this is why I'm hesitant to like even complain about all this. What I honestly think is going to happen, I can't confirm this. I think Zemo is going to be the big bad, and he's going to be putting together his own team of Thunderbolts with new characters and returning ones. I think if we see Abomination in this film, I think if we see Justin Hammer in this film, they're going to be working with Zemo. And I think that's way cooler than just, here's Florence Pugh and all the bankable actors we have on file. I don't know. There's something like I think it looks cool to see them together. I think what really I'm like, oh, really was seeing Bucky on the team and Red Guardian, because I'm like, you guys are the old garb essentially. I know Red Guardian's like a new character, but you have your own team. You have the Winter Guard. Why aren't you over there with them? I don't know. And then I'm like, there's other characters we could have used, right? I think like Razor Fist from Shang-Chi would have been kind of cool to see on this team. I know he's got like his own thing going on, but these are all gun punching people. Like, give me something different at least, Like if Death Dealer didn't die, he'd be kind of cool to see on this team. Something to think about, Yeah. Interesting team. Sexy, talented people who will make more money than I ever will just by doing this. Exciting. So Thunderbolts is going to be that thing. Is that going to be a good thing is the question we should be asking ourselves. And the answer is probably good thing. I don't know. Yeah, it can't be bad. But it could actually, because everything could be bad if you think about it. But out of everything announced, I'm still saying it. You pull out your Man Thing, that is where I'm getting excited for, baby, is with the Man Thing. Because I love that concept. I love the Thunderbolts concept too, but you're not doing the Thunderbolt stuff that makes me happy. Now, you tease Zemo coming back in the purple mask. You got to have me thinking he's coming back for something else. I would love it if Citizen V was like the surprise character on the team. And then he's like, aha, I actually have my own. I actually trademarked this name, so screw all of you, and I'm going to go over here and get Songbird to help me. That'd be fun. But this... yeah, it's fine. Again, Disney, D23, it didn't show us anything we haven't seen before, if that makes sense. All this stuff was things we knew were coming out, except for like When You Wish Upon a Star, the movie of the star. So that's kind of disappointing if you look at it from that way, but I guess it's also like we're celebrating what Disney has coming up in the next couple of years, and that's exciting, I guess. I don't know. I think this show could have been better. But maybe I just had to be there in person, like when Vinny D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox come out on stage, they're like, we're doing Daredevil again. You'd get excited, but I'm like, I can't see you do that. So that means nothing to me. But maybe I'm just bitter. Maybe I don't get excited for things like other people do. But Elsa Bloodstone, Werewolf by Night, Man Thing coming out in less than a month. That's going to keep me going all year. And I know it's in a month. That's going to get me till Christmas. Just watching that over and over again. Even if it's bad, which it very well could be. And yeah, so I cut out at the beginning there. I don't know why. I got to fix something on the computer because that really freaked me out. But that's going to do it. So if you want to see the first 5 minutes of the live stream, I'll probably leave it up for you to check out. If not, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Geek Beach. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.